get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Nathan Bailey of Ideation, Creative Brand Management. And Nathan, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes people should check out of the podcast. This is, by the way, one of my favorite topics that we're going to talk about with Nathan and his company, because combining giving to people, giving awesome, fun stuff to people with direct response, one of my favorite topics of all time. We'll dig into it. But other episodes people can check out. A fan favorite, Nathan, since this is part of the Top Agency series, Todd Taskey, he has the Second Bite podcast. He pairs agencies with private equity, and basically he helps sell agencies. And sometimes the companies make more on the second bite than they do on the first because the private equity sells again. So that was cool because he talks about valuation agencies and what he sees in the agency space. Also, another fan favorite is Kevin Hurrigan, who runs Spinutech. Kevin has run an agency since 1995. So he talks about the evolution of the industry, the services they have, and a lot has changed. So he has some cool stories there. And we're going to talk about SOPs and scaling on this. And the one I did with Adi Clevitt, she basically, that's what she does. Actually, she goes into companies. She's kind of like an easy button for people to create SOPs. And we geek out on our favorite productivity softwares that we use and other people we've seen use. So that's one of my favorite episodes. People can check that out and more on InspiredInsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. And at Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their Dream 100 relationships and partnerships. And how do we do that? We actually help companies run their podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the accountability, the strategy, and the full execution. Nathan and his company are kind of like the magic elves that basically make sure everything happens in the background, from making sure everyone feels special, whether it's a client, a potential client, a staff member. We're kind of the magic elves that make it look easy for the host for their podcast. And so for me, Nathan, number one thing in my life is relationships. And I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found, an amazing ways over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on my podcast. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com. I'm excited to introduce Nathan Bailey. He's president and founder of Ideation Creative Brand Management. Their website is weareideation.com. You can check it out. And their company's been honored in the Inc. 5000 list as one of the fastest growing private companies in America. And Nathan's work, they've helped industry giants such as Intel, Comcast, Oracle, Salesforce, Techstars, and they basically help them further develop their brand recognition and give to people around them. And they help brands basically through corporate gifting and promotional product offerings. And Nathan, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Jeremy.
So maybe expand on that a little bit with Ideation, Creative Brand Management, and what you do.
Yeah, so the business has evolved a ton over the last 4 years because of COVID and kind of how business changed. But it originally was set out as a promotional marketing agency. We came alongside our clients as an extension of their marketing departments and helping them with really most of their physical marketing materials. A lot of what we did was drop shipping products for them to either their offices or trade shows. And then after COVID, it really evolved into kind of who we are now, which is, really specific high-end gifts packages, where we bring multiple pieces of product into our warehouse, and then we make it look pretty using custom boxes and shred and all that kind of stuff. And then drop shipping it across the country for our customers, either to their employees or to their customers. And so we now have this kind of unique hybrid role where we do a lot of we do a lot of stuff that is the drop ship of like, hey, we need 500 backpacks, but we also do things like holiday gifts. We do lead generation for one of our big clients. And we also are the swag closet. So we house stuff here and fulfill it for new hire kits. And so we kind of do almost anything that is related to branding, on merchandise, awards, trade show displays, and do a multiple of different things around that to deliver them for our customers.
So how did you get into this?
Yeah, so that's an interesting story because most anybody you talk to in an agency like this that sells promo, sells swag, most people like didn't go to college thinking like, I'm going to start a business in this world, right? I mean, it's like, I didn't even know it existed. But what had happened was I was in pharmaceutical sales and was rapidly kind of moving up the chain there with a young family. And the higher up the chain you got in pharmaceutical sales, the bigger your territory began and the more you're away from home. And I did not want a life that was only home, on the weekends. And so I exited out of that business. And my father actually knew somebody who was doing import-export work. And he did private label merchandise. And so I went to go work for him as an account manager for him, really bringing in container loads of stuff from across the ocean, which was very difficult because you got to find a retail partner or some sort of event that wants private label. And my neighbor, who is an Aflac rep, said, you should meet this guy who does this promo thing. He might be able to use you for, your services. And so we met, and he essentially told me, like, you're doing this they're doing this the hard way. Told me all about this industry that I'm in now. And so I started working for him for a little bit, and then eventually left that and started my own agency in 2009.
Was that a difficult decision when you decided to start your own?
It was a difficult decision because I enjoyed where I was. The problem that I had at the time is most agencies that do it, we're a little bit different, but most agencies that do what we do, it's all commission. And I quite honestly had a baby and a non-working wife taking care of that baby, and I just didn't sell enough, to be quite honest with you, in those first early years to live off of the income that the commission was paying me. So I did it out of necessity, that to say keeping 100% of what I made was better than keeping part of what I made. And I just didn't have the time horizon to be able to allow it to mature fast enough to stay somewhere. And so I really started Ideation out of necessity to just be kind of a one-man show selling. And that's, of course, now evolved after 14 years into 22 employees and 7,000 square feet of warehouse space, and kind of a little bit different than I originally envisioned in 2009.
A lot more moving parts and logistics involved.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot more, from a guy that's a very high creative kind of ADD sales guy, that's really good at sales. I've really had to evolve myself over the last 3 or 4 years into kind of a CEO leader. And that's been a fun process as well, but not at all. I didn't set out to build a huge company or even a medium-sized small company. When I started it, I really just thought I would, be a one-man show and try and have a book of business to manage and just kind of live that way. And it just kind of kept evolving and turned into something different.
Yeah. So Nathan, we'll talk about kind of the evolution of hiring, but talk about early on, or, some of the tough parts about the journey.
I mean, the hardest part of the journey when you start as any business is customer acquisition. The nice thing about what I do is I've got hundreds of thousands of products. The downside is it's commoditized. It's a commodity. And so it takes a real skill set to be able to talk about what makes you different than either a .com or anybody else that does what you do. And it's really surrounded around reliability, communication, and the fact that you make their life easier. But that's hard to do. And the hardest part about it, especially when you first start with no reputation, is getting a meeting. I always said once I got a meeting, I was pretty confident that I would at least get an opportunity. But when you are selling what I'm selling with, a buying demographic of marketers and typically HR people, they get bombarded by agencies like ours all day, every day. And so that was the hardest part of getting going. And I was very slow, whether it was because of a lack of skill and talent or if it was just the nature of the business. But, it was like 88,000, 120,000, 125,000, 140,000. It wasn't this meteoric rise that I had to success. And so it's just like, I think building any business that is a service-based business that has a product, much like insurance or financial planning, that's the hardest part about it. Obviously, I didn't have in 2009 all the technologies. I had maybe a baby version of LinkedIn that you kind of use, but I didn't have, all the things that most salespeople that we hire now have access to lead gen and start conversations. And so we're kind of on that coming out of an analog, old school sales mentality to the kind of the way we sell now. And so that was kind of the most difficult part of it.
How were you getting meetings then? I mean, right now you help companies get meetings, right? So
yeah, so I know. And so, and I mean, we do some of the same things that, we do for our customers now. I mean, the stuff we do for our customers now is so much more advanced and than I was doing just with a budget that I had. But like, it was about being creative. A lot of it was, I started in 2008, 2009. So obviously we were in kind of deep into a recession anyway. So I would look in the news, the Portland Business Journal, because I live in Oregon, and see like at that time who was doing good business. A lot of government contracts were being issued because of the war on terror. And so my first big customer was FLIR Systems in 2009, now owned by Teledyne. And they're still a customer today. But they had an announcement in the Portland Business Journal that they signed a huge contract. So I figured they got some money. So I went to LinkedIn, I found a contact. That contact happened to have mutual connections of people that I knew from high school. She went to college with. So, I messaged her, cold called her. And so she eventually wrote me back on LinkedIn and said I appreciate the thought and effort behind it. And I got a meeting that way. We also worked with a company called Acumed in the early days. And I've had the contact's name, which I think is probably the most important thing, to have a contact there. And I actually, on St. Patrick's Day, sent her a branded water bottle of her with the Acumed logo on it, and a St. Patty's Day limerick that I had written out. I don't have it. I wish I still did, because I'd love to hang it on my wall in my office now. But she wrote back and said that's the most creative, way that anybody's ever tried to solicit. And because you put some thought and some effort into it outside of being, the normal cold call, like, I'll meet with you. And so that's how that started. So just things like that, trying to be creative, trying to send half of an item and say, like, let's have a meeting and I'll provide the other half of the item, kind of thing. And so those were kind of the early days of the lead gen, using branded merch, like sending one branded sock and then tell them you'll give them the other sock or whatever the case may be. And now it's much more advanced now. I think it's on our website as one of our pieces. Now we're sending fully custom boxes with custom inserts for Comcast Business. We just did a Nike shoe box. it looks like a Nike shoe box. It has a gift card in it. It's got Bloomba socks with a custom wrap around it. And then when you open the lid, the inside has a commercial video that they
cool.
played about their services. And what they're trying to do is essentially allowing you to custom pick and choose the products you want with them. It's not just you can choose this or this. It's like you can pick and choose whatever you want. And so we did a Nike ID gift card to represent that they could go pick shoes that they wanted and then design them the way that they wanted. So we're kind of playing off the you design what you want kind of vibe. And so, that's much more sophisticated than me just sending half a sock, one of two socks, and telling them that I'll bring them the other sock if they meet with me. So
it's a budget thing though, Nathan. I mean, you're starting out, you send one sock.
Their budget was 100 times greater than my budget was on this. And so, but it's just that, that's the evolution, right? The same trick worked. I don't want to close it, but the same concept worked to lead gen, to set appointments, to do all those kind of things. It's just, now we're at a dollar spend and a sophistication and a technology advancement that allows us to do more with what we were doing, kind of quote unquote, what I call in the old school days. So
I want to talk about use cases. Like in that use case, are they sending those? Do they tend to send them to current clients or potential clients?
yeah, they send them to both. So like
both.
we bring all that product in-house and we kit it and then we store them, and they send us a list basically of where they want it to go. And so that's how kind of that works. And we send and they set appointments and go from there. So yeah, I mean it's a very much a piece to a brand of awareness to, like, you can pick and choose this product. So they send it to both prospects and non.
Yeah, I mean, it beats getting a postcard in the mail. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's definitely. It's a valuable piece, and that's one instance of it. But we do stuff with very inexpensive items that ship flatly, that have a call to action, that do the same thing. One of the big things that we talk about at Ideation, in terms of not just being order takers, but like if you have a minimal budget at a show, and you're going to a show and you're a startup, or you're, like me trying to, in 2009, trying to build a business, like you can create a ton of engagement around your trade show table with a mystery lip balm game where you're handing out lip balm that costs less than $1. Don't tell them the flavor, give away an iPad for them to try the lip balm with, custom branded with your logo, contact information. They try the lip balm and guess what the flavor is. You take all the correct guesses, put them in a hat, and then pull one, and that person gets we've had people like sharing lip balm, this before COVID. We've had people like sharing lip balm to be like, try this. What do you think this flavor is? And so like, you're just creating a ton of engagement, and at less than, call it $2 lip balm. And that the life of a lip balm is really, really long. So the number of impressions you get as that comes out of a purse or a pocket, is valuable. It's more valuable, in my opinion, than just handing out a big click stick pin, at a table, and you've invested about the same dollar amount, and you've actually incentivized action. When you take on that guess, you say, what guess the flavor, what's your name, what's your email, and now you've got an opt-in database that you are curating, and so you've actually got some capability to follow up and some lead gen, and you've created somebody other than just walking by your table and grabbing something. They're kind of standing around trying to figure out, play the game, and you're kind of gamifying the experience in front of your table for a very low cost of investment.
No, I love hearing these ideas, Nathan. I love to hear any other engagement at trade shows. I just want to point out for a second, I love how you did your process when you first started, though, because you were finding companies and people who were pre-qualified, right? Because they were whatever you were finding in the news. And then you kind of started local, or people you were familiar with, you had some kind of commonality with them. And then you just did creative things to get in front of them. So, I mean, I love kind of how you thought through that. What are some other cool I love the lip balm thing. Are there any other interesting engagement that people use at trade shows?
I mean, anytime you can gamify something, I think you are winning. Like we don't have one of the questions that we get asked is like, what's working, what's really hot right now? And that's a really hard question for us to actually really answer correctly, because what a group of engineers is turned on to and is interesting to them at a table is different than a bunch of construction workers. So like, we don't operate in a one size fits all. This really worked well, because it may not work well for the demographic of the people that are walking your.
Yeah. Like, I guess I'm gonna, if I stereotype for a second, I don't know if I see a bunch of construction workers walking around with lip balm. It's just not what I visualize. Not saying they don't, but
right. Yeah. But like, anytime you can gamify the situation, and if that can be as simple as a wheel on your table with 4 or 5 options, and they spin the wheel, and then and then they get whatever option is on there. And so it's not really about like, what's a cool engagement. The lip balm is good because we always want to point out to people that it doesn't matter your budget, you can make an impact. We can help you make an impact no matter your budget. You don't need you don't have to have $10 items to make an impact. You can make an impact with lower dollar items if they are executed correctly and you do something to incentivize some sort of action. And so,
what are
so
some of
that's
those,
what
like
we more think
lower?
about. That's what we think about more than anything is around that.
Lower dollar item impact. So what have people used? So lip balm is one. What's another one that people have used that works, but maybe is not, a box that's custom with a gift card and a video screen or anything like that?
I mean, there's lots of stuff like you can do this at a trade show or you can do this as a mailer. Like we do a can koozie coolie with a thing called a cappy, which is basically a cap for your cans to keep dirt and drugs out of if someone were to drop a drug if you were at a party or whatever. And so like they're just very inexpensive items that everybody kind of has and uses. You can put you can put QR codes and NFC tags and all those kind of things in them to then take them to a video that then tells them about your message or your product. You can take them to a landing page and have them opt into a database. So I mean, there's just a lot of tech items are really popular. Any tech organization items can be done for low dollar, full color branding on them. And one of the things that we like to think about too is like, thoughtfully thinking about the logo and who's using it and how it's being used. And does it make sense to slap a logo on it, or does it make sense to have it more retail inspired with maybe an insignia or like we have a light bulb, that's on our website. We use that a lot as opposed to the name Ideation. A lot of our branding stuff that we send out just has our light bulb on it. To make it a little more retail experience. Or we'll have the light bulb in the main part and then the Ideation logo maybe on the lid of a water bottle. So yeah, I mean, there's so many things, and it's just really hard in this conversation to say like, oh, do this, do that, because it's really like, what are we trying to accomplish? And I think a lot of agencies that do what we do fail to ask like, what are you trying to accomplish? And then build their campaigns around what is the end goal. And that can be an opt-in database, to watch a video, just to spray, to put your logo and brand out more for brand recognition. Like there's a lot of different reasons why, people order promotional products and branded merchandise. And so I think it's our responsibility as agencies, my team is tasked to find out what it is that the objectives are and then build campaigns around that based on the budget, delivery times, and all those kind of things.
So use cases, obviously, if someone has a trade show, they can create engagement around that. I mean, they could also send it out and get engagement from cold. Other use cases you mentioned was it could be sent to some of your best clients. Also could be sent to really great potential clients. Another use case that you have is with staff. Talk about that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, one of our favorite things that we probably did during COVID. Everybody was scared. Nobody knew what was going on. We didn't know what the economy was going to look like. We didn't know what sales for businesses look like. And so we did a lot of into 2020 working with HR teams, HR departments, in creating kind of comfort boxes to their employees to just say, hey, we're thinking about you. We know this is difficult. We know you're working from home. We know it's scary, but like, here's we made a kit that had a puzzle and a coloring book and color crayons for the kids. And it had a blanket and a candle and, something for the desk, a coffee mug or something for the desk for the employee, So like, that was kind of where the business evolved, I felt like. And I don't think it's going to go back, where kind of these higher end gifts, these nicer end gifts packaged in this kind of kitting custom mentality, because in such a digital world, that direct mail piece that came to somebody that they got to open and experience, like emotionally changed them or affected them. And I don't think that there is any other marketing medium that does that as well as promotional products do, because it's receiving a gift, whether you hand it to somebody or you thoughtfully think about how to package it and what the user experience is from the time the UPS driver hands it to them to the time that they open it and go through it. And we think about that. Like, we just got a box here at Ideation that had glitter in it, and it's like, of course, a mess. So like, we would never tell a client, like, let's put, even though we're celebrating whatever we're celebrating, like, we're not going to put glitter in a box unless you really want us to, because, and if you tell us that, we will tell you, like, it's not a great experience, because when that box opens, you're going to have glitter all over the carpet. And, and so, those are the things we think about, but, those are a lot of the employee experiences. We do a lot of new hire kits, onboarding people. Used to, we would build those kits, backpacks usually with some sort of apparel item, maybe a hat, journal, pen, water bottle, or coffee tumbler. And clients would kind of keep a swag closet at their office and hand those out to new hires. Obviously, most hiring lately is being done in a hybrid model where they don't even come to an office. They get hired, from a Zoom. And so we've become the swag closet where we send that on their behalf, with a little, personal note welcoming them. We can do things that have QR codes or NFC tags on the items or in the note where they can scan it. And then, a hiring manager can say, like, hey, Jeremy, welcome to team, whatever it is. We're really excited to have you. Whatever the message is. So we can do that. So we can make it personal, as personal as the customer wants. And there is a ton of statistics around that onboarding experience, that new hire kit, and how it makes the new hire feel and their adoration and loyalty to the business. So I'm a big proponent of, no matter what the budget is, doing something to recognize a new hire, with some branded merch.
Nathan, I want to talk about what you did with PayPal, but I love what you said about the glitter. I don't know, gifts gone wrong or mistakes. What are some other things people should not send? I don't know if you've seen the glitter bomb videos, Mark Rober videos where he has the glitter bomb versus porch pirates. Have you seen that? They literally use that.
Yeah.
Because it was probably a pain in the butt, and it's, has the fart spray and has the glitter that throws everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
What are other glaring mistakes that, like, it should be obvious, but maybe most people don't know? Like, don't send glitter. What else should people not be sending to others?
It's not necessarily what you shouldn't send. It's more of how you send it. Being thoughtful around that experience. I got in the mail, and we do this here at Ideation, where we take stuff that somebody sends us, and then we kind of sit together as a sales team and kind of go through it so that we don't make those same mistakes. But like, I did a transaction with a bank, and I got a tumbler, a coffee tumbler, like a Yeti coffee tumbler. It wasn't Yeti, but it was just for the audience so that they can remember. It's got a Yeti type coffee tumbler with my logo on it and their logo on it, which is super nice and is great. It came with a note card, telling them, like, a generic note card thanking me for working with them. And then it also came with a personal handwritten note. All great. They put it in a mailing envelope. And by the time it got to me, the envelope was so wrinkled and the paperwork inside of it was so wrinkled that the user experience for me just wasn't great. Obviously, I have a more critical eye because I do this all day long, every day. But like, for the same money, you could have put that in a white mailbox and with some shred and laid that stuff sitting there beautifully, and it would have done a lot better. But we've seen everything from coffee grinds to liquid items to ceramic mugs. Which ceramic mugs is more difficult. It's more expensive because you have to protect them and they're heavier. We don't tell people not to do it, but I mean, there are those thought processes around, okay, if we put that in, it's breakable, it's going to require more packaging, it's going to require some bubble wrap. Is that a good experience for somebody to have something bubble wrapped if we do have to bubble wrap it? And so it all can be done. It's just a matter of more about the packaging to make sure that it arrives safely and not broken. And we do a lot of kicking boxes and throwing boxes and kind of putting them through a test. We ship boxes from our office back to us just to see what the experience is like, while UPS has it or FedEx has it, and then we reopen it to make sure the items didn't break or didn't shift or whatever. So That's the biggest thing is about that. But I would say anything loose like a glitter or confetti or, when you open the box that then falls everywhere is what I would stay away from. And then we try and be as eco thoughtful as we can as well. I mean, there's some packaging that we just can't get away from it, but we also think about items that are recyclable and packaging that's recyclable or can decompose. And so that's always something, especially in the Northwest, that we're talking to customers around as well.
Yeah. So think about
styrofoam peanuts we stay away from. One, they're a pain like confetti, and two, they're not great for the environment. So we try and stay away for those. But yeah.
So mostly think about, you don't want something that's going to make a mess. You also don't want something that, want to make sure the presentation's on point and it's protected. I've gotten stuff too, Nathan, from people super thoughtful. I forgot what it was. It was like some kind of little alcohol bottle with something else, and it came broken. I didn't have the heart to tell them it came broken, and it probably wasn't their fault, but it wasn't packaged properly. It was in a nice box presentation, but it was broken. And I was like, it was such a nice thing. I didn't want to be like, hey, thanks for sending me, a broken alcohol bottle that spilled in the package. But not good. But
that's terrible. And one of the reasons when we got into COVID, one of the reasons that we moved towards our own warehouse and our own warehouse team that kits stuff is so that we could control that quality, because there are not very many agencies that do what we do, that do that work in-house. They outsource it by kitting and fulfillment companies, or they have our supplier factory partners kit for them. And even us, who during Christmas time one year, did an order and thought it'd be easier for just to have the factory partner do the kitting and all that stuff, they just threw a ceramic mug in a box without any protection. And, luckily they came to us before they went to the customer. But that is a big deal of why I made the decision to invest in our own warehouse and our own team, because I wanted to make sure that when Jeremy gets his box from Comcast or Intel or whatever customer has us do that work, that the experience is not that was nice, but it's broken. We wanted the experience to be, this is incredible. The best compliment we can get from our customers, or even our customers' is when they posted on LinkedIn a picture of the cool thing we sent, and then, tag them in it. And then usually, somehow we kind of hunt those down and find them. And that's like the greatest compliment we can get, is when that kind of packaging work that we've kitted and then drop shipped and delivered gets posted on, LinkedIn or Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah. Nate, that's actually what I wrote in big bold writing on my notes right here is, why did you make the decision to bring fulfillment in-house? Because that's a huge investment in process, is a huge investment in people. You're like, I started this just to be a one-man show, and now you're starting a fulfillment center.
Yeah. For that reason, and you're right. COVID. So I tell people when I tell this story, we went into this business backwards because we did it out of necessity from our clients calling us and saying, hey, we want to do this. Can you do it? And of course, 2019, desperate measures, desperate times, we said yes. And so we basically already luckily had a small warehouse that then turned into us adding, I got 1,500 square feet of warehouse space in May of 2019, thinking this would last us a good 5 years. By mid 2020, we had another 1,500 square feet. And by 2021, we had 7,000 square feet. So we went into it backwards, not as let's add this as a service and write the business plan and come up with the SOPs and, all that kind of stuff. So we were doing this work, and then it was like, okay, this is not going to go away. I could foresee in the future, because we proved its ROI during COVID, that even after COVID, customers were still going to want this service because of how effective it was in drop shipping something right to somebody's address, and then being able to follow up or have them do an action. So yeah, we invested in warehouse racking. I'm the proud owner of a forklift, I like to say, which I never thought would happen. We have a team of 3 people that do the kitting and fulfillment in our warehouse. We have another 2 people, because part of the vision that I had was bringing everything in-house. Once we got into fulfillment, I was like, well, we might as well bring embroidery and decoration in-house. So then now I have 7 embroidery heads and 2 people that run the embroidery department and the heat press department. And so, yeah, it became this big thing. And now we got into it. It's been successful. And, the vision has expanded because of it, of what we could be for our customers. And, with our mission of making our customers look like rock stars by solving their problems, removing their irritations. My, long-term goal is to kind of be a one-stop shop where we take care of fulfillment, warehousing, kitting, decoration, which decoration is embroidery, heat press, and screen printing. And so screen printing is the piece that we don't have yet that that is part of the vision that we're marching towards.
What kind of work did you do with PayPal?
PayPal, we've done a bunch of stuff with them. We've done influencer kits. We work with Honey, which Honey, a lot of with the company Honey, which is the coupon system that you can do the extension on your kind of Chrome browser to find coupons. But we did a lot of work with Honey. We do their new hire kits. So whenever they hire anybody from around the country, we created a website for them for their new hires, because they had multiple options. So they had a Timbuktu backpack and they had a Rains backpack. So you could pick one of those. You could insert your t-shirt size. And so it's a full-on Amazon style checkout process. And then we get that order and then send it off and fulfill it. We did an influencer kit for them where we sent podcasters, like famous podcasters, big podcasters, like the Dak Shepherds of the world.
I was going to say, I wasn't on that. I don't think I got that.
You're not on that list yet. No. Yeah, I'll find out.
Maybe after this interview, we'll put it on the map.
Yeah, you should be on it for sure. Like they missed you, I think. But so what we did was we custom printed a pizza box that they designed with our team. And then inside that pizza box was just a spot for us to adhere a Uber Eats gift card. And we then had to find couriers across the country that would allow us to ship the box inside of a box. When it got to the courier, they took the pizza box out of the box and then delivered it to the address as if they were pizza delivery guys, and then just handed them the pizza delivery box. So the experience was not, I got a corrugated brown box and then opened it up for a pizza box. It was as if you ordered pizza and the pizza man delivered it to you. I think it had to do a lot with sponsorship and advertising around the podcast world. But yeah, so that was a fun project that we did for Honey PayPal. Honey was its own company. It got bought by PayPal, and now they're integrated. But yeah, so that's kind of
cool. Yeah, I like that.
Influencer marketing kits has become a really big business of ours. We work with a couple high-end beauty cosmetic companies, and it's all around like these custom boxes, putting their product along with some promotional products in it to then send to bloggers, Instagram influencers, and all that kind of thing. So that's become a new avenue of business that obviously was not a channel when I started in 2009.
So if you're an influencer agency, you can call Nathan.
Yeah,
because you probably have a lot.
Yeah, we work with a couple of influencer agencies, or we work with brands that have an influencer agency that help them, that advise them. And so, we work with a company, and I don't know if I can say their name, so I'm not going to, but we work with high-end global cosmetic company, and we work with them, but we also work with their agency, their influencer agency that represents them as well. So that happens all the time. We do a lot of agency to agency work, actually.
Nathan, I have a couple questions. I know we only have a few minutes, but one question I have is, what are some of the key positions you put in place? Remember, you started off, your vision was just you, right? Yeah. So what were some of the key, the name people necessarily, but key positions you hired for over the evolution of the company?
Yeah, I mean, the business really took off in 2017 when what I tell people when I tell the story is finally the nice guy wins, right? I was putting enough, I don't want to say mentorship because she is unbelievably more talented than I am, but Stacey Garrett is her name. She's a senior account manager here at Ideation. She's 24 years of experience. She's in the top 1% of 1% of producers in our industry. And I really just for whatever reason, we hit it off at an industry trade show. We had coffee a couple of times. She asked me some questions about managing her business and kind of what I call weed and feeding her business in terms of the different clients she had. An opportunity arose where she was looking to make a move, and she called me, and I was able to talk to her about ideation and what I was trying to build. And even then, we were quote unquote too small for her, and we basically doubled in people and doubled in revenue overnight when she came on board. That was kind of the catalyst that got us going. From there, I then helped her with the support that I gave her to 2.5 times her business while she's been here for 6 years. Built her team out. I doubled her team. And then, just through, I think, having a clear mission, operating under our core values, having a vision that I can tell other salespeople about, like, this is who we are, this is what we're trying to do. We're not there yet, but this is where we're going. And I've been, I think, pretty successful in getting people to see that vision, telling them where they fit in that vision, what the roadmap is for their career in that vision, and been able to recruit some really top talented people.
Love it. Nathan, I have one last question. And I'd love to hear some of the craziest things that you've seen sent out, maybe off the wall, just things that people would never think of. Before you answer that, I just want to point people to check out your website. People can check out ideation.com to learn more and poke around. If you have questions, you can contact them through the site. Are there any other places online we should point people towards?
Yeah, I mean, you can look us up. We're pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can look us up on LinkedIn. Of course, like, if you hear this podcast and want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I don't have what I am, but just look up Nathan Bailey, CEO of Ideation, and just add a note saying that you heard about me from this podcast, and I'd be happy to connect with you. And then we're on Instagram as well. We are Ideation on Instagram, and then my Instagram is Nate Bailey 524. If anybody wants to check me out there.
The craziest things. Maybe you sent them. Maybe you've heard of them being sent. I love kind of hearing some creative things. But what have you seen throughout the years?
I mean, there's always crazy stories of like stuff that you hear about being sent, and I don't even know the full story or the full story around it. But like, I mean, like things that I would like, I can't believe anybody buys those. Like branded condoms is one of them that's like crazy, like that people order in our industry. I mean, like we are lucky in that we not lucky, I should say. Like our demographic of clients is very high-end corporate global, like, you know what I mean? Enterprise customers that are very image conscious and not what I would call the rebel rousers of business, And so like we've done cool projects like the pizza thing I told you about, and like the Comcast shoebox that I told you about. But like, to be honest with you, like I'd love to give you like a crazy wild story about crazy stuff, but like we just haven't had that experience from who we work with. But there are definitely things that are, that I can't believe are in the catalog of things that we can order because of just the nature of what they are. And like the only thing I could think of is like, strip clubs and maybe, a specific entertainment industry wanting to order some of those products. But
I mean, I've heard people send like very, I don't know, like maybe not crazy, but large, like people sending swords, or I forgot something that was just obscenely big that got delivered to someone.
Let me see if I mean, not obscenely big. Like we've done Adirondack chairs. Like that's like not obscenely crazy, but that's like a big, it takes up a lot of space. Custom Adirondack chairs. I mean, I know that people like we've sent Pelotons, we've sent we've sent canoes that have been branded. Like just like there are things that are like this is like crazy silly, and sometimes it's like the shipping of the item was more expensive than the actual item was, especially when you're talking about like incentive gifts. So like maybe there was some sort of sales contest or something like that, and so they were giving away the person with the most sales or the most leads or the most whatever, that they're giving away a Peloton or they're giving away. And that's all great and fine and dandy until you start thinking about, okay, well, that cost me $1,400 plus the shipping of it, or whatever the case would be, because it doesn't get free shipped from Peloton. It's got to come to our office. We then have to decorate, like somehow either sticker it or wrap it or whatever they want done to it. And then it goes back out. And so we're just whatever it costs the palletized freight cost for it to go is kind of, obviously we tell our customers up front, but like some of those boardroom meetings are a little bit, or like, the whiteboard meetings with the marketing team is, it behooves them to have us in there so that we can give them some warnings around the idea that they may not be thinking about.
Yeah, no, I love it. With your idea also, maybe you send the paddle with the logo and you're like, if you want to meet with me, you get the canoe, or here's the shoes. If you meet with me, you get the Peloton.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like I know that you're saying that, but like we can do custom shoes that are really cool shoes that look like, Nike Air Force Ones, but they're not Nikes, but they have that vibe to them, but they're totally corporate branded. And like, I think it's fun. Like it's a fun,
like actual shoes. Like,
and
they're wearable and everything. Yeah,
they're on our Instagram page. You can take a look at them. There's a Taco Bell ones that look like white Air Force Ones with the Taco Bell design on them. But like, that's an interesting thing. Like if you wanted to invest a couple $1,000s to do an A/B test on, if I send one shoe to a customer and ask for a meeting, like what's our, what's the conversion rate on that? To me is very interesting, or is an interesting use of marketing dollars to see what that conversion rate looks like. And so with those shoes, for example, you could order as little as 2, like 2 pairs. And so you could send one shoe to one prospect, and you could send both pairs to another prospect and then see which one lands if either of them land. And so, obviously I think you need more units to get an actual vibe of what to get a real kind of average of what the conversion rate is. But there's some really cool things to do in this day and age to stand out, especially in a digital world where most people probably 50-50 are just trying to get a digital Zoom meeting. So how do you differentiate yourself amongst everybody else that's trying to get that same meeting? Is something that I think we can help with.
I love it.
Yeah.
Nathan, I want to be the first one to thank you. Everyone check out weareideation.com. Check out their Instagram, get some ideas, and listen to this podcast. I got a lot of great ideas and just more episodes of the show. And thanks again, Nathan. Thanks, everyone.
I appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like $100 grand.